Looking Forward Our Way podcast addresses today's critical issues affecting adults in Ohio. We focus on issues that affect our money and our neighborhoods. Our expert guests are here to provide the information and resources needed to address those challenges. We are looking forward our way. Hi, this is Brett. 3 years ago, Carol and I had the opportunity to podcast with Tammy Wharton, President and CEO of Girl Scouts of Ohio's Heartland, to highlight the Dream Big program. That's a $16 million investment in Central Ohio's girls, promoting STEM educational opportunities. The Dream Big is happening, and the STEM Leadership Center is now open. Tammy has returned to give us an update on the wonderful programs already underway. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tammy, it is so wonderful to see you, and I'm so excited about this building. As I mentioned, I saw it just before it opened. Now I need to come back out and visit and actually see the girls running around and doing all kinds of things, and it's beautiful. It is just absolutely beautiful.
Well, and it's functional as well. And I have a smile. You can't see, but I have this smile on my face every time I talk about the building. I think I shared previously, one little girl walked in and she said, "You built this for us." And it was absolutely true. This building's built for girls. It's built for youth in general and for the community. There's something for everybody out there in it.
Well, and that's what's going to be exciting. We're going to talk about today. It is for the girls, but it also is really for any child in Central Ohio. There's programs with the schools and community groups, and so we're going to get into all of that. But before we actually talk about the big dream, we want to talk about you. Reintroduce yourself to our audience. Tell us your background and how you got involved in Girl Scouts.
Wow. Well, most people know me as the Girl Scout lady, but I do have a background before that. I came to Ohio State to swim, synchronized swimming, way back when. We're not going to tell you how long that was. And that's how I ended up in Ohio from Pennsylvania. I worked in the athletic department and for Ohio State for a while and then transferred over to nonprofit. And I've been doing my heart work ever since.
Isn't that nice? Wonderful. Right. Yes. I think the last time we did have a long talk about who we knew in synchronized swimming because you were swimming when I was in graduate school.
We did.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful.
I do more sinking now than swimming, so that's okay.
I was just going to say, that pool out at Camp Kajagati is pretty cool too. A lot better than the pool that was there when I was a camper.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. When you were with us in 2022, you provided an incredible behind-the-scenes look at the Big Dream, the new STEM Leadership Center that would be built at Camp Kajagati on the west side of Franklin County. This initiative is a transformational step for the Girl Scouts in our region, providing immersive experiences for young girls to consider a STEM career path. How has the initiative started, and who has supported your efforts to make it a reality?
Well, Dream Big is a reality, as Carol said. It's open. But it started way back in 2018, 2019, when our national office said we're going to do a STEM pledge to put 2.5 million girls in the STEM pipeline by 2025. And lo and behold, it's 2025. I was joking and I said, well, we're going to put 1 million in so everybody else doesn't have such a hard lift. But I had to figure out how we were going to do that. And I looked at a couple sister councils. One had a STEM center. And we went down, we toured it, we talked with some of her funders, some of her staff. And on the plane ride the way back, our board chair at the time, Julie Holbein, said, "We can do this." And of course, I'm a little competitive as a synchronized swimmer or past synchronized swimmer. And I said, but ours has to be bigger and ours has to be better. And that was, I believe, 90 some acres. Ours is on a 220 acre campus. And ours is definitely a lot bigger, with it being about 24,000 square feet for the center alone. But that's not, the whole campus is an immersive STEM center.
Wonderful. And you've really had a lot of support from all of the large organizations, large corporations here in Central Ohio.
We have. We brought them early on in the dream and talked to them about the need to really invest in girls. We have a thriving community that is bringing a lot of new jobs to the area, and we really need to think about how are we going to fill those jobs. So we told them that a girl's STEM identity is formed by the 3rd grade and their confidence peaks by the 5th grade. And that's important because we need to get girls into STEM experiences and in-demand experiences early and often. And that means in those early formative years, a lot of people were throwing money at high school or college, and it's really too late to get girls engaged and involved. So we're not the only part of the pipeline for that future workforce, but we're a critical part of it. And so that's why it's so important that we had the support of the funders and shared our progress along the way. And we wanted that center to be something very different. We looked at what is in the community and we said, we don't want to be duplicative. We want to make sure that our programming is unique. And if there's something that we feel our girls want or need and they tell us that, then and it's already happening in the community, then we'll bring the community partners in so that we can create programming together.
Right. Yeah. And so really an important part of that is what you've been saying is giving people the information they need. And I was really excited to see this new report that was created for all of the girls in Ohio by the I believe it's 4 councils, Girl Scout councils across the state. And the report's called Ohio State of the Girl. Now, this report provides an excellent overview of the issues and challenges that girls face every day. It also includes actions that can provide girls with the techniques that they need to make their world more positive and successful. I was really excited about that because I'm looking at that going, that is an obvious action step, but until you actually see it in writing, it's not like it's going to come off the top of your head. So let's look at this report. It's going to lead us to the importance of the STEM leadership programs, but there are lots of demographics and numbers in there, and I love numbers. So give us a little bit about the demographics of today's girls.
So it's interesting. This report looks at the physical wellness, the emotional wellness, the social wellness, and the academics for girls, and they're really tied together. Unfortunately, the news is not good, but I always say that data is not our destiny. So the report shows different statistics in each of those areas, like bullying, academics, and it's mostly cyberbullying, girls' physical health, etc. And it also gives solutions to our teachers. It gives solutions to caregivers on how we can do differently so that, again, that data is not their destiny. And of course, Girl Scouts has programs that support girls with the caring adults so that they feel safe and secure in participating in programs and learning new skills and then gain the confidence that they need to kind of combat some of the things that they're facing.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, our audience, we are going to include a link to that report. And I really encourage you to take a look at the report and send it on. Like I mentioned to Tammy, I send it on to some friends of mine who are principals of elementary schools because those are the folks who need to see this. So again, those demographics show kind of a sad situation, but if we know where we are and we know where we want to be, then we could come up with the steps in between to get us to our goal. And that's what I loved about this report. It showed whatever the issue was, there were groups of mentors and guardians and people, who are helping our girls and the steps that each of those different populations of people can take. So there's different steps for teachers as opposed to different steps for parents. It's a great report. So I encourage everybody to take a look at that.
Yeah. Well, that report dives into 4 major indicators: physical wellness, emotional wellness, social wellness, and academics. So let's start with the physical wellness. We all know our kids spend way too much time with their days online. So what should our kids be doing instead? I think that's what you just mentioned, Carol, in regards to helping parents get them offline. But online is a major part of our life right now. But we do have to take a rest from it. So again, what should the kids be doing?
Well, I think you hit on the number one piece, and it's first limit screen time, because all of the issues that you're seeing in this report are related to technology to some extent. Yep. And so if we can get girls off the screens and get them outdoors, there's benefits, and the research says there's many benefits to getting outside and getting active. And unfortunately, gym class or phys ed is not in the schools as much as it used to be. So our youth aren't getting activity there all the time. And so they need to get out and get physical, and they can do it through sports and other activities. It's just really important, or just go out and walk in the great outdoors. But if they do it with their friends, or they're encouraged by their parents or caregivers, that's important too. So limiting the screen time is number one, and saying, shut it down, get outside and go play.
And
Right.
don't bring the screen along with you
Exactly.
either.
Right.
I mean, yes, I think there's some safety to bringing a phone along, of course. It's attached to our hips, that sort of thing, for if something happens. But don't look at it while you're walking.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the
Look at the flowers.
or the sky,
Yes,
or in
yes.
front of you so you don't trip.
Right.
But I think one of the other pieces in this report talks about body image. And if you're getting out and getting physically fit, then you have a better image. You feel better. You're mentally better, for the social and emotional piece. So it's all tied. Physical activities tied into the other pieces as well. So everything kind of is integrated to each other.
Well, and so that really walks right into our next point. Our kids are lonely. They're sitting alone at home on their screens. And although that's communicating, it's really not, because they're not with other people. They don't have friends. They don't have emotional support. They have a home life that may be unstable or in constant upheaval. It's leading to depression and suicidal tendencies, which we read about in this report as to how this is affecting the girls. Have you witnessed or heard about some of these situations?
Yes, I have. And I have a daughter who is a little older now, but it was just starting, I think, some of the challenges of technology when she was in school. And I think the stats that you were referring to, 56% of Ohio girls in grades 9 through 12 reported feeling sad or hopeless. That's over half the girls, and that's after the pandemic. We understood that more may have felt that way during the pandemic, but I feel like we've come out of that, and the girls are still feeling that way. And there's reasons why. We keep talking. Keep coming back to technology and some of the unrealistic issues or visions that you're seeing through the Facebook and everything. Our girls think that those are realistic images, and you can doctor up pictures. We all know, with Photoshop and different things. I don't even know all what that's out there, to make yourself look different than you truly are. However, our girls are thinking that that's how they should be. They should be thin. That's the body image piece. They should be beautiful. They should have brown hair, red hair, whatever it is. They think that's realistic. And if you're not sharing that, that is not a realistic image of girls, and not everybody has this beautiful, perfect life. They're writing about maybe a fantasy that is not how life is.
Right.
Girls have to learn that. And then we also need to be there to see when girls are having changes and they're acting differently. And that's where friends come in. And we always say in Girl Scouts, we make new friends and keep the old. I mean, that's one of the things great about Girl Scouting is you meet a lot of friends. And friends are going to be there to see the changes, and they're going to be there to support you. And if they need, to call somebody to get help.
Right. There was a report that came out, I think in the winter, where the researchers were telling parents their children younger than kindergarten should not be on the screen at all. And it was like for less than an hour. And I'm thinking, why would you want a 3-year-old on a screen for even an hour? All the playing they need to learn to do, all of the figuring out how to put blocks in different places and how to read and how to do their colors and numbers and things. And I'm not saying technology can't support some of that, but if they're just watching cartoons on their screens, that's not getting them anywhere. So, yeah, this is...
And I think some people use the screens as a babysitter.
Right.
But I will tell you that I have a 9-month-old grandson, and he knows what a phone is already. It's crazy. And I just am sitting there and I'm horrified because he likes other things more than the phone. But as soon as you pull that phone out, he goes for it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to to stop that, because parents are so entwined with the electronic devices as well too, and kids want to emulate the kids, or I should say the parents, or do what they're doing and play what they're playing with, or whatever, and their eyes are playing with that electronic device, not talking really, and that sort of thing. But it makes it difficult. Yeah. Well, in a world that's so technology connected, we're also actually suffering socially. Children are bullied in school and on the internet, probably more on the internet than they are at school, quite frankly. What did this study find, and are there some viable solutions?
Yes, girls are getting bullied, and mostly cyberbullied is what we're finding through those. We keep coming back to technology, but a large number of girls are facing the bullying from others. In middle school, I think it said 39% of girls and 28% of high school girls were bullied online in 2021. And so there's some strategies to think about to kind of combat the bullying. We can help girls establish supportive connections with caring adults. That sounds like Girl Scouts, and we take people to join. Can I do that shameless plug?
Absolutely.
We already mentioned this, but monitor the use of social media and the digital, and teach digital literacy. Tell them what's really happening. Those are photoshopped pictures. Those aren't real.
Artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. And that's even scarier when we start talking about AI, because we don't even know if it's a real person anymore. Encourage schools and other organizations to provide anti-bullying education. I mean, I know that we're working to get math scores up and all these tests and stuff, but our schools have to be, that's where some of it's happening. And our teachers, they have to be aware, and they have to take a stance that that's not going to happen. And if somebody sees someone struggling and knows that that's happening, get them the help they need, if that's mental counseling or tell an adult so that they can get the help they need.
I heard something too on this past week about bullying and physical sexual violence against young girls, and they were saying that the first most important thing is that when a child reports bullying or violence, that they are believed. And through a friend, I found out that her child is being bullied, and instead of the teacher taking steps to look into what was going on, her response was, "Well, we have a bullying code. There are rules, but nobody was talking about enforcing the rules. So having them is only the first step."
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where a friend comes in, so that if they see something happening, they can stand up for their friend, and they can also go get help. And I think when you have more people than just one person coming forward, you'll have more paying attention. And that's sad, because you got to believe, if somebody says they're being bullied, who wants to be bullied? If you're coming forward saying that, it's kind of embarrassing. So listen to the youngster that's saying that, and investigate.
Well, that goes back to your notion, too, of making friends, being together with friends, protecting each other, standing up for each other. And all of that leads to a better self-worth.
It does.
For all of the kids, all of the friends, not just the one being bullied, but the others, too. And, bullying makes you think you're weak. And your friends are going to help you realize how strong you can be.
That's exactly right. And you did talk a little bit about the experiencing sexual violence and sexual dating violence. And I think at one point, I don't know what the stats are anymore, but it used to be like 1 in 3 women have experienced sexual violence. 18% of girls 9th through 12th grade reported experiencing sexual dating violence in 2001. And 18%, you're like, that's not that much. But no girl should be.
That's 1 in 5.
Experiencing.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
No girl should be experiencing that. And it's just unacceptable.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the main points that the report touched on was academic success. Our kids were falling behind during the pandemic. They're struggling with even greater challenges today. There are some bright spots here in Ohio, particularly the increased support of programs like your STEM Leadership Center. So tell us how this new STEM center can build the supports that our children need to advance their education and their careers.
Well, I'm so excited to talk about the STEM Center. The campus, Camp Conjockety, which means away from it all, is a campus that's a STEM immersive campus. And so the buildings have STEM programs in them, and the buildings have doors just about everywhere and windows everywhere, so you can bring the outside in and take the inside out. And what I mean by that is we have a wetlands. And so the girls were doing a program where they were investigating the wetlands, seeing if it was healthy. And then they had to bring it inside to do some of the experiments they had. And so they had the ability to go inside and outside to do the experiments. We're on the Big Derby, water quality testing. We do rocketry in some of the labs, but you can't send the rockets off inside. So you go right outside to do that. Trust me. It might have been tried. And there's
I was going to say there's always opportunities.
Right. And there's other things going on. We're going to have a camp this summer where girls build dollhouses. And so construction is a field that women are underrepresented in. And so we're trying to give girls an idea of some of the activities that they could have future careers in. So they'll build the dollhouses and then they'll use the 3D printer to do all of the elements, the beds, the dogs, the people that go inside the dollhouse. So we're teaching girls skills that they're going to need for their careers, but girls learn differently. And I think sometimes we forget that. We can't say to a girl, do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be an architect? Do you want to be in construction? We have to show them programs where they can learn them, decide if they like them, and decide if they're good at them, and then tell them what kind of careers match those skills. And we also have to bring the parents along, because in the past it used to be you need a 4-year degree to be successful, and that's not the case. There's certifications. We were just talking about that earlier. There's apprenticeships, and you can make a very good salary this day and age in the apprenticeships. And so parents need to understand that it's okay if a child doesn't want to go to a college for 4 years. There are other ways that they can have a successful career. So we're bringing the parents along and the caregivers along just as much as the girls.
You know, my background is in career counseling, and that is so important for anybody to understand. You can't ask a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want your major to be? Because if a lot of kids would say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be whatever, but they don't really have a clue as to what that means, because they have not had the experiential opportunity of seeing what an engineer does, what an architect does, what a scientist does. And it's even social sciences. I taught students who were in sociology and criminology. And until we told a crim student they could do something besides being a police officer, they didn't want to do criminology. But when they found out they could do all of these other kinds of things with a background in crim, then suddenly their eyes opened up. And it's so important for kids to get that experience. As you said, 3rd grade is you can grab their attention. 5th grade, it's sort of getting entrenched, but they still need all of their grades need to have the opportunities for the kids to see, how does it tie to my world? Construction of a house is one thing. Construction of a dollhouse for a 12-year-old, whole new ballgame.
Well, we make the activities fun, and we always say science is all around us. I think one of the challenges we see still in this day is if you're struggling in math, somebody will say, that's okay, you don't have to do math, you could be a teacher. And just because you're struggling doesn't mean you might not be a wonderful mathematician in the future. So I think our girls today are afraid to fail. And I shared this with a group of individuals because I love the word fail, because to me, fail means first attempt in learning, and you have to fail to succeed. And I've asked a lot of people, when have you learned the most? And it's typically when you were unsuccessful at something, and then you worked really hard to get back up and accomplish it. And so we need girls to be able, and youth in general, to have opportunities to fail and then succeed. Because today, look at your grades. You getting all A's? Oh, that's great. You got a C? Oh my gosh, we got to work on that. Well, maybe they learned more with the teacher helping them with that C than the person that got the A who it was simple for. Right. You know, we see that in jobs too. You're doing a great job. We're going to give you a promotion. I'm not saying that that's all bad, but we have to learn how to fail and be curious so that we can figure out solutions and never give up.
Right.
Yeah, there's
right.
this cliche is in the entrepreneurial world of fail early, fail often, or the reverse of it. It's like, yeah, you only learn from the failure, quite frankly.
Yes.
Right.
You
And they
win.
hurt, but they
Oh, cool,
open
you
up
bet.
all kinds of new doors and windows. And I think all of us could say that in our careers.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens at Camp Conjockety, and now with STEM, it's opening a little bit more, is the maple syrup. Is that right?
So, yes, we have the science of maple syrup. And we typically tap about 400 trees on our property at Camp Conjockety.
400? Really?
400.
I mean, I know that
That's a
there's
lot of pancakes.
That is.
Well, I knew there were a lot of trees, but I didn't realize they were all tapped.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not flipping them because.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because we have girls that do the tapping. And we have programs where they go out and do the tapping, and then we put the lines up and we teach them about the lines, how they work, and we teach them a little bit of math. 40 gallons of sap to 1 gallon of maple syrup when you put it in the condenser. So it's crazy. There's a lot of math out there that they don't realize they're getting. And there's a lot of science in the science of
That's
maple
right.
syrup.
And putting those lines in, that is very needed skill today. I had a printer that had lines for the cartridge, as opposed to cartridge ink. It came in the little wells, and the lines didn't work. And I didn't know how to fix those lines, so I got rid of the printer. I mean, that's the best way for me, was the best way to do it. But yeah, I mean, and it all goes back to things they can do at home and by the learning that they've done at Camp Conjockety.
One, we do a maple syrup chef program where the girls take maple syrup and create things like you would think it's a sweet, but there's been some savory that were really good as well. And the Maple Syrup Festival, when we talked about Camp Conjockety and the STEM Leadership Center being for the community, it is a community event. So families can come out there and get some fresh air, 220 acres of hiking, activities. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And we do field trips out there during the year as well. So we're reaching out to schools. We want to use this property as their outdoor laboratory so that they can learn the science of maple syrup or some of the other things that are out on that campus that they don't get in a classroom.
The report mentions two very important factors that can improve the lives of our girls, helping them to build their self-confidence as well as the need for support from caring adults. Both are leading methods to fighting bullying, improving body image, and supporting academic success. What strategies do you see as the most important in fighting bullying and promoting a positive body image?
I'm going to say number one, get them off the technology. And two, the confidence that they need to gain. Because a confident person's less likely to get bullied than somebody who's not. And as I said earlier, the confidence peaks in the 5th grade. So we really need to work on building girls' confidence and also their friendships. And so if you have a friend who sees that you're being bullied, that friend, be a friend, help them out, or go get somebody who can help them out. If you see a girl and her emotional state's changed, try and find out. I know that the friend is not the mental health counselor to help them, but go get somebody to help them or let people know that something's changed. If a girl says that she's contemplating committing suicide, tell someone. Don't just say, oh, she's just saying it. It is true that girls talk about it more than actually completing suicide, but don't take that chance. Our girls are too important. They think that a horrible thing that's happening in one moment is not going to go away, and they make a lifetime choice through suicide.
Right. You know, I can remember when we were in Scouts decades ago, but part of that was the fact that the moms were involved. And so we had that group of mentors who were the leaders, but our moms were involved, so that if I was having a problem, maybe my mom didn't see, but my friend's mom could see there were issues. So that notion of being part of a group, and I think, I'm not saying girls need a group more than boys do. Boys need their groups also. But it's so much more important for girls to belong. They may not be able to afford sports. the sports activities are becoming more and more expensive, and educational programs don't have the dollars they used to have for sports programs, but they need to be involved in these programs. And so that notion of watching over your friends is so important. This also goes kind of into my next question. We've been talking about how important STEM careers are in today's workforce. The flip side of that is this is critical for girls. What is going to happen if we don't move this needle for our girls?
So women make up over 50% of the population and the workforce. And they represent, I think at the high level, 30% in STEM fields, and sometime at some point it was 18% in the STEM fields. So if we don't change this needle early, our workforce is not going to be there. So we need to have girls, 50% of the population, helping to make things better. Women see things differently than men. And so what did they say? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Right. And they do see things differently. And so they're needed as part of the solution. I think about some of the cars, and they talk about safety belts, and women are smaller. Dr. Howard from OSU, she said she couldn't be an astronaut and go up in space because at the time she was looking at it, there was not a uniform that fit her. And so if we don't have women expressing some of these needs out there, then they're not going to be included because people just don't think about it if it doesn't impact them.
Right. I just bought a new car, and they need to have female engineers build the seats because it doesn't matter how I move that chair. I either can't reach the pedals or I can't sit high enough. And you have to have a woman's perspective on all of the products that we create in our country.
Well, and there's research out there that says when women are in leadership positions in a company, the company does financially better. And so to me, I'm thinking, if that's the research, why in the world are there not more women at the C-suite or at least at the executive level? And I mean, I know it's a hard and it's an intentional transformation, but we have to be intentional to get the best products.
Well, and that really goes to also the message to women who are succeeding, who are moving up the ladders, that they need to also watch what's going on behind them, making sure that the doors are open for everybody and that young girls are getting what they need to keep moving up, not just up a ladder, meaning more money, more prestige, but in terms of success, reaching success.
Well, I have all these little taglines, and one of them is girls need to see it to be it.
Oh.
And so if girls are not seeing someone that looks like them, then they question if that occupation or area is for them. Another thing that is really challenging, we always like, well, one woman, she made it, yay. But I hear that you have to have 3 women around that table for them to truly have impact.
Mm-hmm. When you mention that to see it to be it, and let's say a woman does want to become a mentor, what does that involve? I mean, in regards to the time commitment, or I mean, it can be their own, of course, but what's a good example of all you have to do is this, and it makes a difference. That sort of thing that you may have the time. A woman listening may have the time and not even realize that they can make a difference with just whatever it might be to give.
So I will give it in relationship to Girl Scouting because that's near and dear to my heart.
Right.
A woman and men too can serve as troop leaders. So men can be Girl Scouts if they're over 18, but you can't have a husband, wife, or relative running a troop together. So you could run a troop. You could serve as a subject matter expert at one of our events. You could give a speech to our girls. We have our Gold Award Girl Scouts that are absolutely incredible and doing great accomplishments in their communities. And they want to see some of these leaders and what they've done. And we give them time with them ahead of the Gold Award ceremony to ask any questions they want and kind of have that one-on-one time. And then there's other opportunities at camp to volunteer and at different events to volunteer. And volunteering also helps support Girl Scouts. there's a lot of opportunities in schools for mentoring, and there's a lot of other organizations out there that are really great that you could join if that's what's near and dear to your heart. You could become a big brother, big sister, or there's just, like I said, there's just a lot of things out there. I know Franklin County Children's Services, there's ways to volunteer there. So it just depends on what your interest is, and then you want to match it up to your interest. And that's important because it's heart work that you're doing. So really be realistic to what you want and the time commitment you want. And there's something out there for everyone.
Yeah, and it's all going to lift all boats.
Correct.
Right.
Whether it's helping Girl Scouts directly or not. And that's where I was going with that. And there are opportunities. Just to give the time to it. You can. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this isn't just women who are in STEM fields now. It's really anybody who is in a profession that they are excelling in and doing well in. One of the easy things to do is look back at your alma maters, your alma mater high school, your alma mater college. How can you connect with students and let them know what you do? So way back when I was still in graduate school, we used to do an alumni night at our high school and bring in 100 different alumni to talk to students about their careers. The one person I used to go out for every year was a woman who had graduated 2 years after me and had become an airline pilot. She was a professional airline pilot.
And you know only 3% of women are airline pilots?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And she was one of the first. This was way back when. And she did it for years. She did commercial passenger flights. And then after so many years, she went into the non-passenger, whatever they call that, flights, and retired. But she would come in her uniform from, as I said, it was a major airline. It was the coolest thing. And so we'd almost plan the event around her flight schedule to make sure she was home so she could be there. But those are the ways that you could go in and you can talk to students who you've got a natural connection to because they are in your school.
Well, I always said it would be really cool to have a flight simulator out at the STEM Center. So if anybody listening has one and wants to teach us how to use it, wouldn't that be fun so that we can get more women as pilots?
Well, aren't we building a new tower at the Columbus airport? I'm sure they're going to have something left over from the old tower.
I love it. I love the idea. And I think that's also part of what we've been doing is, we talk about partnerships, and we are not the experts in all of the different fields out there, but we feel like we are the experts in girls. And so creating partnerships, I joke about the simulator. I don't know. I think I tried one once and I crashed the plane, so you would not want me there. But having somebody and having teaching our girls at a young age that this is something they could do, it's just, it changes their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right. Are there any other Girl Scout programs you want to mention? And obviously you want to update on the Girl Scout cookie sales.
Yeah. So we're having lots of different programs out at Camp Conjockety. And if people want to go to our website, they can learn about the programs because some of them are community programs. The other thing that I would say is if they want to go to our website to look at the report, they can go to ohiogirlreport.org and pull up the full report.
And we'll have that in our resources for
Perfect.
the podcast. Yeah.
Perfect. And as far as cookie sales, we just completed our cookie sales. So if you missed out, I'm sorry, you got to wait for next year. But I will do a teaser that there is a new cookie coming next year. So stay tuned for the announcement of that. It'll be a lot of fun.
If anybody wants to come to my house, I have 2 more boxes of Thin Mints in my freezer, waiting for until Lent is over.
I think Thin Mints went really well this year. We were getting asked, do we have any more cases of Thin Mints?
There you go.
I want to say thank you to everybody who did support the cookie program because it is a program. It's an entrepreneurship. It's young girls learning about entrepreneurship. And so while people are like, oh, gosh, we paid this for cookies, you're getting a treat and investing in a girl. And we absolutely appreciate it.
I always used to buy the cookies through whichever kid I knew. And I have really started buying them from wherever I see a group selling, like in front of the grocery store. I saw some girls at the Home and Garden Show this year. And because it gives you the opportunity to watch them interact and be salespeople. And it's so much more fun. And the moms are doing a great job of saying, okay, how much is this for 5 boxes, and walking them through the whole process. It's really more fun that way for me, but you see the kids in action.
Well, I walk up to booths and they don't know who I am. And so I start asking questions, and I'm sure they're like, who is this person? I'm like, what are you going to do with your proceeds? How are you doing? And I always have to buy if I walk by someone. It's just, I have to do it. So
absolutely.
But I see more booths than the knock on the doors. And some of that's a safety issue. Some of that we talked about the health. People aren't getting out and walking around as much. So, and some of it's the weather here in Ohio because it's so crazy. So, but we are seeing a little bit of change in how girls participate in the program. And we also have a digital vehicle as well. So girls send out their link to the people that they know, and then you can buy from them digitally as well. And that is our day and age today. I mean, look at Amazon. How many things have you bought from Amazon this week? I mean, and have them delivered. So we have to teach girls about those skills as well, but we also have to think about their safety.
Well, you probably won't thank me for this, but every time I talk to the girls, I would always say, I know Tammy Wharton, and you need to meet her, and you need to go to Conjockety and go to the STEM. And all the moms are like looking at me like, who's
that?
Yeah. So, if anybody ended up on your doorstep because some lady bought some cookies, that was me.
I welcome them. I love seeing the girls participate in activities and see their eyes light up. And again, going into that STEM center and knowing that that's for them. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And that's what we build it for. Right. It is hopefully a legacy that lives on and touches so many girls in the future.
Right. Yeah. Tammy, one of the things, since we're talking about programs now out at the STEM Center, if, say, for instance, my friends who are principals at elementary schools, if they want to contact somebody to talk about what the programs are out there and if their kids from their schools can take advantage, do they just call the council office?
Yeah, and we'll put them in touch with someone.
Okay.
And that's 614. Oh, goodness.
We'll put it on our resources.
Put that on your,
we'll put it on our resources.
I don't call myself very often. That's kind of scary.
They call you.
I think it's 487 something.
Something.
Yeah.
So we'll put it down. But the notion is that if you are an educator in Central Ohio, please look at the information about the center and call if you need more details. And because there's lots that's going on out at the center.
Right. We have lots of field trips and bringing the classes out there. And we bring girls and boys out there during the field trips. And our team does the programming for them. And then the teachers serve as chaperones. And so they get a little bit of a break but have fun. And the kids get an outdoor experience and get to see science come alive.
Wonderful.
And it's a lot of fun. We want to invite all schools to work with us so that this can become their outdoor classroom, because this is for the community just as much as it's for our girls.
Right. Wonderful. Well, as we always ask our guests before they leave us, if you have any last words of wisdom.
My last words of wisdom are, Girl Scouts offers so many different programs that people don't know about. I think the STEM Center is case in point. So if you think you know Girl Scouts, come look at us again. It's a great way for girls to make friends. It's a great way for girls to combat some of the bullying, and they learn life skills, entrepreneur skills. They'll learn a lot of skills that are going to serve them well in the future, and it's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Many thanks to Tammy Wharton, President and CEO of Girl Scouts of Ohio's Heartland, for joining us today. Listeners, thank you for joining us as well. And don't forget to check our show notes for contact information as well as resources on our website. That's lookingforwardourway.com. And we are looking forward to hearing your feedback on this and any of our other podcast episodes.
The views and opinions expressed by the experts interviewed on this podcast are their own and don't necessarily reflect the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. The information provided in these interviews is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with qualified professionals for specific advice or information related to their individual circumstances. The podcast host and producers don't endorse or guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any information provided by the experts interviewed. Listener discretion is advised.